The U.S. military has carried out yet another deadly strike on what officials say was a narco-trafficking vessel in the Caribbean. The Defense Department saying that 3 people were killed in the strike. It happened Saturday. This is now the 15th strike like this since the president started the campaign against alleged drug traffickers in early September. And during his interview with 60 Minutes, President Trump said this about whether he is ready to redirect those strikes, expanding them from the sea to the land.
And this issue of potential land strikes in Venezuela, is that true?
I don't tell you that. I mean, I'm not saying it's true or untrue, but I wouldn't.
Why would
I
we
wouldn't
do
be
it?
inclined to say that I would do that, but because I don't talk to a reporter about whether or not I'm going to strike.
Joining me right now, CNN senior military analyst Admiral Adm Stav, a former Supreme Allied Commander and a partner at the Carlyle Group, an international investment firm. It's great to see you again. So the president now saying in this same interview, he said Maduro's days are numbered. He does hint that hinting at the strike plans now, though not confirming, but we've heard over and over, and you and I've discussed this, that he and those around him have been threatening that this could soon go to be land strikes in Venezuela. I think you told me in the past week when we talked that you see a 50% chance-ish that this becomes a land battle. I mean, what are the odds now today, do you think?
I think it's a 70% chance that we will conduct these strikes, Kate. I think the only limiting factor at this point from a military perspective, the carrier USS Ford is not yet on station. They're headed into the Atlantic. It'll take them 5+ days, maybe 7 to get on station. I think at that point, all the pieces are in place. The Pentagon would say the table is set for strikes. And I think at that point, President Trump has a big decision to make. Final thought, Kate, he probably is not going to at least immediately go after leadership targets. He's probably going to confine these strikes to where the drugs are coming from. So seaports, command and control. He'll tie it to the counter-narcotics campaign. I think he'll then pause, turn to Maduro and say, last exit before the tunnel.
Jeez. I mean, you talk about the USS Ford, which this is an important part about this that you've been highlighting. Just the sheer buildup of American military power in the Caribbean now. With the Ford headed that way. I mean, if this is all focused in the Caribbean, is something else being overlooked? Is this creating blind spots elsewhere? Absolutely.
And our limited number of aircraft carrier strike groups are arguably the greatest flexible military tool we have. So when you pull the Ford out of the Mediterranean, you lose the ability, for example, to use it in the Middle East. Let's say Iran begins some new nefarious activity. You are sending a signal to Putin that U.S. military isn't as strong as it could be in the European theater. So absolutely, Kate, these are assets that one has to distribute very carefully. Historically, in a crisis, the first thing the president asks is, where are the carriers? In this case, the biggest and the newest one in the world is headed straight for the coast of Venezuela.
Also, the defense secretary announced this weekend that he is working with his Chinese counterpart now to create a new U.S.-China military communications system. Hegseth, the way Hegseth described it, was as military-to-military channels to deconflict and de-escalate any problems that arise. And he also said that the U.S.-China relations had never been better. What does this mean? When you heard this announcement, what did you think?
I heard good news, and we've had those kind of deconfliction channels with Russia, certainly during the Cold War, and even recently with China, but they were severed over the last couple of years. So this is good news, if we're allowed to talk about good news once in a while. It's good news that the U.S. and China militaries are coming together, having a conversation, and frankly, I saw the photo spray from the meeting Secretary Hegseth had with his counterpart. Body language looked pretty good. It's better to talk than to go to war, as Winston Churchill said.
It's always good news when you're on, Admiral. That is the good news. It's good to see you again. Thank you so much.